Okay, we just covered absolute value equations. Now let's take care of absolute value inequalities. You've got two rules that you need to know. First one, if absolute value of a number is less than C, then you have to get rid of the absolute value symbols, just like you did for equations. But with inequalities, you have to know these two rules. You have to get rid of the absolute value symbols by forming an AND inequality. If it's less than, you form an AND inequality. If it's greater than, you form an OR inequality. And there's a very easy way to remember that, with this one especially. Think of greater than C, greater. Think of OR. Okay? And the other one has to be the AND. So
Less than and.
Less than and, yes. Greater or. Alright. Do we have those down yet? So when you get rid of the absolute value symbols down here, you just get rid of them and you're left with AX plus B is less than C. Now when you flip the inequality to a less than, it makes this negative C. Same thing over here. Negative C comes first. The AX plus B is less than C would be right here. Alright? So let's look at one of those. Solve and graph. Solve the absolute value of 3x plus 6 is greater, which tell you is or, greater than or equal to 12, and graph. So the absolute value is isolated. It's by itself. So you can go straight to the rules, the OR rule. So the first thing I do, this is my first equation. Drop the absolute value symbols. 3x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 12, or 3x plus 6 must be less than or equal to negative 12. Solve them each separately. Subtract 6, you end up with 3x greater than or equal to 6. Divide by 3, x is greater than or equal to 2 is your first solution. And to graph that, you have a closed circle on 2 shading to the right. Here, or before we get to the graph, let's go ahead and solve both of them, and then we'll graph them together. Subtract 6, you get 3x is less than or equal to negative 18. Divide by 3, x is less than or equal to negative 6. We know negative 6 has to come first on the number line because you always do least to greatest. Negative 6, then 2. Open circle on both because there's an equal to sign. Or closed circle on both because there's an equal to sign. And x is less than negative 6 would be to the left. X is greater than 2 would be to the right. Easy enough? All right. Next one. In this one, solve 3 absolute value of 2x plus 6 minus 9 is less than 15 and graph. Here we got to do a little bit of work because the absolute value is not isolated. So it's just like equations, that last example I did with equations. Add 9 to both sides, divide by 3, and this is what we end up with when we get the absolute value by itself. Absolute value of 2x plus 6 is less than 8. From there, less than tells you you have to form an AND inequality. So I take negative c, which is negative 8, is less than 2x plus 6, which is less than 8. To get x by itself in the middle, you have to subtract 6 from all three sides. You have three sides now. You end up with negative 14, less than 2x, less than 2. Divide everything by 2. Here's your final answer. And for a and inequality, this is how it should always be written. Your smallest number will always come first in your final answer. Now when you're doing work, it might be turned around, but you need to reverse the order at the end. You always write it with the smallest number coming first and less than signs for an and inequality. Alright, and my graph for that one would look like this. -7, 1, open circle on both, and X is in between, so you shade all of the area between -7 and 1.